Peter, thank you for taking the time to join us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to please introduce yourself?
I'm Peter Lewis. I'm a senior HR business partner for Data Action, which is one of Australia's leading financial tech companies, based out of Adelaide, and we have offices in Sydney and Melbourne, and a few remote staff all around the country. So.
Excellent. And we brought you to the podcast to talk to people who probably are thinking of joining or becoming HR, joining the industry, I guess, or maybe they're new in the industry and they're still learning.
Yep.
And I want to focus on that topic of what an HR business partner is. What is the role of an HR business partner?
Yep, across the business as a whole. What you'll probably find is it's kind of as you develop in your HR career, there's multiple forks in the road you can take to specialize in set areas, and HR business partnering is kind of remaining in that generalist field but specializing in that high level advice and experience that you learn over your HR career path up to that point. So you kind of become an advisor for financials, budgets, marketing, recruitment, coaching and mentoring of managers, succession planning, everything on the plan. It's a full suite that you have across, and that's why no day is ever the same when you're a HR business partner as well.
From a business person like me who doesn't know HR, and because we're still under 50 people, we haven't yet hired an HR person yet, so my knowledge of HR is limited, as you can imagine. A business partner, to me, when they are partnering with a particular division or divisions of the business, clearly depending on how small or big is the business, to me, the number one goal is to, maybe this is high level and maybe it's accurate, maybe it's wrong, please correct me, to, in a sense, hire and retain the best people possible.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, that's what makes up a successful division and profitable division. If you can have resource it with the best people possible and retain them, you always going to do good. I mean, does that make sense? Is that a big part of what you would do?
Correct. So, as I said, when you go into your specialised streams in HR, recruitment is one of those. And then depending on the size of the business, you may have a specific recruitment function, which we do in my business. But as the HR business partner and overseer of the HR function, operational within our business, I need to have my eye over everything that occurs in the business. So I oversee the recruitment. We still have our recruitment catch up twice a week to keep on top of what roles are out, what candidates are up, what stage we're up to as well. And then also keeping that vibe on, because it's our job to control the culture of a company. So you always want to just make sure that you're maintaining not just that skill set, but also the cultural fit as well across all recruitment as we go through that period.
So it comes down to retention, right?
Correct, yeah. But if you're looking at HR business partnering as well, so more my role now as in my function with your company, if we went into that now, would be looking at, are you expanding overseas? What's your strategy for growth? Where are you going to recruit? What actual skill sets do you have? Your skills gaps analysis across the country of what company of what's missing or what you need as you expand, making sure you don't grow too quickly and staying within your budgets and everything else. And that's where the multi-hats come in, because again, if I'm doing your recruitment planning for the next financial year, I'm also have to work with the finance team. I have to work with the recruiter to understand what's out in the market, what's the talent, what's the going rate, build that into budgets, and then go out and target that and keep those allowances and buffers in there you always need in budgets as you move forward, as you know as a businessman. So.
Okay, so let's talk for a little bit, switch gear to retention. We've been partnered with a division. It's a few hundred people, even 500 people probably, and so it's a lot of work. We have a strong leader in that division as the head of that division, and we're working with them as an HR business partner. Recruitment at the moment is doing well. I worked with them and I was able to find a good TA, talent acquisition person. That stream is going well, but retention isn't great. Too many people are leaving. And that whole culture and cultural fit, and I mean, we can write 50 books about that stuff clearly, right? So when it comes to retention, what are we saying here? People need to be happy, right? So it comes down to what makes an employee happy, I guess, right? At least for that division, for that company, in that industry, in that spot, location, etc. You need to make sure people are happy. How do you approach this? What's the first thing you would do if retention is an issue in a company?
So you always hear people talk about HR being 15 professions in one. But I always tell people the summary of what I do for a living is talk. And communication is the key part of that in any role. So part of my business is to go out and talk to all the managers, and where needed or possible, talk to all the staff and maintain that, because no person is the same. People are driven by family, flexibility, money. It's all different on the person as well. And even if you have a particular culture that you're trying to gather and harness and grow, you're still going to have different personalities in that business. So you have to know your people, you have to understand what drives them and keep that in mind when you're making your decisions as well. A big part of that too is also those ongoing conversations with your managers to make sure that you know what's happening in their space, what they're doing, are their staff happy? And this is the kind of thing that you need to know as a HR business partner as well, is that you're also normally in your role of mental health first aider as well. So you're also having those conversations with people who are vulnerable and things like that. So
talk to that, please. Sorry, I'm not sure what you meant exactly by that.
So being a HR business partner, you're also generally normally a mental health first aider as well. So you deal with a lot of things outside of the workplace, because retention is not just the job itself. There's a lot of factors in your life outside of the workplace as well. And that's another part you have to take on as a HR person, is if someone's having struggles outside that's impacting their work.
I expect the managers to be really in touch, the direct managers, team leader, etc.
Correct, and that's what you would hope, but that's in an ideal world. And in a real world, you're not always going to have your manager up to speed, so that's why you need to do that coaching, mentoring and training.
Okay.
In an ideal relationship, the manager would have all that under control, but if not, that's what we're here for. We're the 24/7, tap us on the shoulder if you need support function as well across the business.
Very interesting. That fine line.
Correct.
Between talking to people about their personal life and make sure they can be the happiest they can be at work, and see anything that you can help them outside of work to make sure, they can be the happiest person, therefore the happiest employee, right? Is that the bottom line of this?
And that's taking down that old story of HR being like the villain or only for the company as well. You have to work on those relationships and build that trust and let them know that you're there to make solid business decisions that are good for them and also good for the company as well. It's not one-sided.
And has the image of HR evolved in the last, say, 25 years, particularly now with COVID?
Yeah, correct. So
do you think the image has changed?
COVID throws in another whole curveball altogether. So I think the image has definitely changed because we are out in there more dealing with the people face to face. We get involved with the managers, get them to talk about the topics that we need for the company to be successful. So your succession planning, growth, personal learning, things like that as well. COVID has thrown that curveball because the whole workplace has changed. So you still have a lot of companies, mainly government departments and things like that, where it's still like, we're flexible, you can work from home on a Wednesday or every second Thursday. But what we're seeing, especially in the tech space, is we're fully flexible. So there are people that I've worked with for 2 years that I've never met face to face. So you have to find ways to get around that lack of human interaction and use different forms of communication, whether it be Skype, email, phone calls, to maintain and build those relationships.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Okay, so to go back to the retention, you've got clearly you're in the middle between the managers. You're the matchmaker, aren't you?
Correct.
You've got the employee and you've got the manager. You've got to both be happy. It can't be about the employee only or about the manager, which is, I guess, is the company a third factor here? The company, the manager and the employee, maybe three. The dynamic is even more deeper than that, right?
Yep. Again, personalities come into it. That's the thing you have to remember when you work with people, is everybody's an individual. People are going to clash. Even if they have the same ideals and the same interests, there's always going to be personality clashes.
Okay, and that's my point.
It's our job to manage that.
Thanks, Pete. And that's why I guess I was thinking, the manager, not necessarily he is the company. Sometimes it's a personal issue. That's why you're really managing him as well, in a sense, and trying to create that match and best of a win-win-win for the employee, the manager, and the company, I guess. And that's three entities, right?
Yeah, and that's where it comes back to that open, honest discussion, because you don't want to lose a good employee because they're too afraid to talk to you about a small issue, whether it even be REM. Like, that's another thing that we talk about, and it's a common thing now because we're in the Great Resignation as we speak. People are getting impacted across the country, especially in the tech space, and what we're seeing is salaries in the last 3 years in certain fields have gone up 30-40%. So we have to, again, as a business partner, you have to be ahead of the curve to try and predict what the going rate for that role is, because you don't want to be the company that gets pilfered first, where you lose all your good employees for
before you
$20,000 before you realise it, or you haven't budgeted for it as well. So
that's another point.
The new one we're doing at the moment is forecasting ahead for salaries now in the tech space, is trying to maintain, because we're head office in Adelaide, so what we find is the Eastern Seaboard is the benchmark now. It used to be Eastern Seaboard prices, rest of Australia prices. With the remote working, that doesn't occur anymore. So we have to keep ahead of that wave because Sydney, Melbourne right now, they're good candidates and now they just knock on the door in Adelaide, or people are getting tapped on the shoulder. And I always say to everyone, I'd rather you come to me before we get to the point of you going to look for another job if it's about money. Open door, come in, let's have a chat, move forward with that as well.
A lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, a few HR people told me they resigned from their job, senior HR people I'm talking about, HR manager, director of HR, because the way they described it, there's a bit of a gang mentality going on between the CEO and the executive team. They have that kind of gang, and the HR is outside of that gang. It's they go and plan things and bring HR later to help them resource the plan, as opposed to HR being part of the plan.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that? Have you heard of that before?
It's a tough part because it depends again on the company culture. You'll find in a lot of businesses, HR has a seat at the main table, which is ideal if you're in an HR position, and then other ones you don't. And there's nothing worse in HR than being behind the eight ball when it comes to rectifying issues or not getting your voice heard. I'm very lucky. I report straight into the general manager, and she has a seat at the senior leadership table. Makes life a lot easier, keeps me abreast of what's going on in the company. Because again, if you're a HR business partner, going back to the insertion of the word business, is you have to understand all the projects, all the plans that are going on across the company as well. And again, it's my job to sit there and go, well, hang on, if you're going to implement this project that's based around APIs in the next 9 months, our guys are currently in capacity because workforce capacity is another part of our job that we look at. We look at the workflow and the pipeline and how many employees we have to that. You look at it and you go, well, it's going to take us 3 months to go to market to find an API developer because they're as scarce as hen's teeth at the moment. How much is that going to cost us to bring them in? How quickly to get them up to speed with how the company does things, and then actually have them workable on a project as well. It's all that timeline part. And if you're not at the start of that in a senior leadership meeting with HR, then you're behind the eight ball from the get-go because all your timelines are pushed out, and that impacts everyone across the business.
So how do you deal with that? Let's say you've been assigned to work with a particular executive to help them with their division because they're having some recruitment problem or retention problem or cultural issue, employee satisfaction, which comes back to retention anyway. And you go to speak with them and they think they know everything. They think, who are you? You're just an HR kind of person, because they think it's only the execs who are the head of the divisions and the CEO are the people that bring in the money. You're not a money generating machine as an HR. They don't think they don't think you deserve the respect that other executive does, which is completely, utterly wrong, clearly. How do you deal with people like that? And what options do you have if the CEO doesn't put them in line and make sure you have a voice with them?
It's playing the long game. And again, that repetitive advice, you can give it. If they take it on board, excellent. If they don't, you then work with what happens. Whether you end up being right or wrong in the long term, you just keep on going through and giving that good advice. And if you're good at what you do, you'll start seeing those results come through as well. The main point of HR, and I'll find this for anyone who's listening who wants to get into it, is you've got to be proactive. So we constantly have 6-month meetings where we catch up with all the leaders across the business, from SLT right down to team leaders of small teams. Sit down with them and we just have an open discussion. Talk about whatever you like. It's not getting noted down. It's not going back to the CEO. You can tell me that, this team's very hard to work with. You don't like this person, whatever it may be. You have that communication. We learn from that. We hear those problems. We solve them for them. One of the reasons why I don't take notes, you should action things as soon as you possibly can in HR as well. There's nothing worse than someone coming to you with their issues and their problems, and you go, that's great, put it in the top drawer and walk away from it. Because then you lose that trust altogether.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay.
The other part too, and I think everyone's been burned by HR at some point in their life, and that's where those stories come from, is if you're a young up-and-comer, never promise anything that's within your grasp, because you're the person that delivers the message. And there's nothing worse than going, Anwar, I'm going to give you a raise of $50,000. Got it all lined up, ready to go, just need CEO sign off, and then it gets to that end hurdle and the CEO is like, no, we don't have any budget left, I'm not signing off on it. And then you have to be the one that goes back and deliver that story, and then all of a sudden you're the villain. So I always say to everyone, even though I'm HR, I'm like, never believe anything till it's written in front of you and ready to go. And I say that to all the people I train and mentor, is never dangle carrots, never guarantee things that you can't actually deliver.
Very interesting.
Yeah. You can discuss what you're trying to do, but always go with that. Don't wait until it's rock solid in front of them and it's actionable.
Yeah, very interesting.
Because people remember when you let them down.